Chinese weightlifting has dominated the international stage for the last 3 decades. And if you watch how they train, one thing stands out, and it's their approach to building leg strength. And it's very different than a lot of other countries. Here's the thing about Chinese athletes, is that they're not the most genetically gifted lifters on the planet. They have smaller frames, they're less explosive compared to their European or Western counterparts. So how did they build a system that consistently produced the strongest pound for pound weightlifters in the world? They refined their biomechanics, dialed in their technique, and turned squat programming into a science. And in this video, I'm gonna cover the big 5 squat variations that they use to build their leg strength. And that includes zombie squat, motionless squat, parallel squat, pause squat, and speed squats. And I'm also going to cover the accessories, the must-do accessories, and how to apply the programming logic behind it so you can develop leg strength like a Chinese weightlifter. Before we get into the variations, I want to talk about programming. And this is very important for long-term development of leg strength and where a lot of people get wrong. 1. Chinese weightlifters only squat twice a week. And this surprises a lot of people, especially in weightlifting. It's such a leg dominant sport, so you assume that they'd be squatting every day. But the Chinese are more conservative here on purpose. They only train squats twice a week, compared to the Bulgarian method or a lot of American programs where athletes are squatting more than 3 times a week. Because squatting isn't the end goal. It's a helpful tool to improve your snatch and clean and jerk. And squatting less helps prevent fatigue and overtraining and injury to your knees. 2. Leg accessories are spread out throughout the week. You're not hammering all of your leg work into one session. And this might make sense for a bodybuilder to do so to maximize hypertrophy, but we're training athletes here. So the accessories are spread out and balanced throughout the week to maintain proper energy levels in your legs. 3. There are 2 macro cycles. So the first is the pre-competition cycle. It lasts roughly 2 months and built around volume. You're looking at mostly doing 5 sets of 5 reps on your squats. This is where the variations and leg accessories we're gonna talk about gets the most attention, because you get to afford spending energy in training more volume in this block before the next block that's focused on intensity for competition. The competition cycle is when they ramp up the intensity where you're chasing a daily max and then dropping back down by 10 to 20% to your working sets. And in a later video, I'll go into a deeper dive on competition programming. So now let's talk about the 5 variations. The first variation is a zombie squat. If you're having trouble with your chest collapsing in the front squat or your back rounding when you catch it clean, this is the drill that will help you. When you have your arms extended straight out in front, you work your upper back and core more to hold everything upright, preventing the bar from rolling off. And I added this to my workout recently because I have trouble with a rounded back, and I absolutely feel the difference. You want to perform the zombie squat from 70 to 85% of your front squat for 3 to 5 reps. Now you can add a little hold at the bottom to really dig in to the back and core activation. Next, we have the motionless squat. If you find yourself struggling, running out of energy halfway through a heavy squat, this is not only because you lack strength, but you also lose that tension and endurance. So motionless squats are great for building this endurance. They're isometric holds or just above the parallel level of your squat for 30 seconds up to a minute. Of course, you can't really go heavy, you're using a light weight, but you really want to hold that tension. You can also widen your stance a little bit to shift more of that load onto the hips, or come narrow together to feel more of that tension in your quads. And you can do this variation for both your front squat and back squat. We also have the parallel squats. And the hardest point through a squat is when you break through the bottom and around that 90-degree mark. Since you don't get the momentum from rebounding from the bottom of your squat, parallel squats directly target the sticky point where most people struggle to get up. And it's the same loading range where you're hitting 70 to 85% for 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps of your max squat. So pause squats help train raw concentric strength. When you pause all the way at the bottom, it kills that momentum of that rebound you normally get in the squat. So you have to generate more force from nothing. And this is incredibly effective and applicable to weightlifting. You want to pause for around 3 seconds and you want to keep your core braced entirely. So again, same loading, 70 to 85% for 5 sets from 3 to 5 reps. And the last variation is the speed squat. Weightlifting is a speed sport. Not only do you need strength, but you definitely need the speed to go along with it, or you'll never accelerate the bar fast enough to get it high enough. And in the second pole, all that speed is generated by your legs. It's our primary engine that drives the speed into the bar. Speed squats will train your fast twitch muscle output and teaching your legs to produce force as fast as possible. A useful combination here is a tempo squat. So 3 seconds descent with the optional pause and then explode up as fast as you can. For this drill, you want to keep the weight light enough, around 70 to 80%, so you're actually moving fast with the speed and not coming to a grind. Okay, now let's talk about the accessories. These are must-do accessories if you want a strong and healthy squat. First is ankle mobility. Chinese athletes stretch their ankles before every session, without exception. Limited ankle mobility means that your knees can't track forward, which means your weight shoots back and your squat falls apart. A barbell ankle stretch, once at a time, from 1 to 3 minutes, fixes this problem more than people realize. Next, we have a narrow or sissy squats. So after you stretch your ankles, this is a great way to practice loading your knees forward in that range of motion. And this drill is a quad dominant movement, which will build a lot of strength and stability in your knees. You want to do this at a very light load where you can feel the intensity for around 10 reps. Hip thrusters are also a great drill to build hip strength. You don't need to go all the way down your hip thrusters. You want to stay in the range where your hips feel loaded and the tension doesn't drop off. The hip extension targets your glutes, which is the driving force of your hips. We want to use our glutes together with our quads in our extension to have a faster second pull. And if you want to build strength, core work is non-negotiable. You have to do your core work 2 to 3 times a week minimum. In the Chinese weightlifting halls, I see core work being done almost every day. You have your weighted planks, back extensions, and reverse planks. I covered this in a previous video, so go check it out if you need more information in doing effective core work. And some honorable mentions for accessory work are the split squats, pistol squats, leg extension, and leg curls. You want to sprinkle this in throughout the week, and this is just to build extra muscle in your legs for joint stability and power output. So if you want to incorporate the Chinese philosophy in training legs, here's how I would do it. If you're training 3 times a week, on day 1, I would do back squats plus 1 variation and core work. On day 2, you would do 2 leg accessories. And on day 3, I would do the front squat, 1 variation plus 1 core accessory. If you're training 4 days a week, on day 1, I would do back squats plus 1 variation plus core work. On day 2, 2 leg accessories. On day 3, front squat, 1 variation plus core work again. And then day 4, I would add 2 leg accessories. And if you're training 5 days a week, I would do day 1, 1 accessory, day 2, back squats plus 1 variation plus core work, day 3, 2 leg accessories, day 4, take a rest on your legs, day 5, front squats plus 1 variation plus a core exercise. So the Chinese method in training leg strength is great for athletes and weightlifters, where squatting isn't your primary goal, but is a great helpful tool to develop leg strength and explosiveness. Unlike powerlifters or bodybuilders, getting bigger legs or stronger squat isn't our end goal here. Our athletic performance is. So spreading out your leg work throughout a week definitely helps you balance out your energy levels, prevent fatigue, and also maintain healthy knees. So I hope you found this video helpful. It definitely helped shift my perspective in training legs when I started learning like the starting strength or 5-3-1 method, where volume and intensity of the squat felt like too much on top of weightlifting. And even if you're an athlete, let's say you're basketball, hockey, or football, you might want to do this approach as well to preserving energy in your legs. I didn't want to spend too much detail going through everything because there's a lot of information to unpack here. So if you have any further questions that you want a more of an elaborate explanation on, please comment down below and I can do a separate video breaking those down. So I hope you can take some of the information from this video and apply it to your training. And a lot of you are unsubscribed, so please like and subscribe on this video if you want to help this channel grow, and I'll see you in the next video.